Hi, I'm Mark Upton again from teamsportcoaching.com, and hopefully today I've got a bit of a cold, so hopefully you can put up with a bit of nasally congestion sound in my voice. But I want to cover off today on the use of key performance indicators, or KPIs as the popular cliche, if you like, goes, and just some things to think about in terms of how you use performance indicators, what types there are, and sort of the workflow or process that they fit to, based on analysing games and reviewing games as a coach. So if any of you have downloaded our ebook, the Developing a Playing System, you would have seen in the analysis section of that talking about performance indicators and breaking them up into two areas: the product indicators and process indicators. And the first one in product is really what's common in most sports and stats packages you get is the end product as a KPI. So if we were talking about let's say the efficiency of our attack and our attacking movements in a team sport context, we might have an end product, or a KPI which is an end product might be something like our scoring efficiency, say scores divided by number of entries into our attacking zone. But that number in itself doesn't really give us much insight into the actual performance or what unfolded and why that scoring efficiency may be in the positive or the negative based on some of our benchmark data. So I think what's really important is what sits underneath that product indicator and scoring efficiency, which is the process. So how did your team actually go about achieving whatever this figure is here? And this can then often link into more of your game style or system of play. So as it relates to attacking or forward entries, you might have some process indicators, how you went about it in terms of quick or slow entries. How many times, if it's say an Australian football example, was the entry an advantage kick from the kicker to the forward to give him the best chance of securing possession and then scoring? What was the movement of the forwards? Was it leading up to the kicker, back? Was it just a pack or contest situation? And perhaps where was the ball launched from? Was it out wide on the flanks? Was it through the corridor? Is your game style based on getting the ball through the corridor? And if it is, this indicator there might give you an idea of how often you're able to achieve that. So already hopefully you can see that by making sure you measure and implement some of these process indicators, you quickly get a much better feel for what your performance was, how effective it was, and also why. And no doubt for each of these, as I mentioned a bit earlier with score efficiency, you'll have a benchmark result you're trying to achieve. So score efficiency might be 50% plus, might be your objective. And also for each one of these process indicators, you might also have a benchmark score. Quick to entry ratio, you might want 75%. Advantage kicking, you might want 70%. You might, pardon me, your target movement, you might be a team that prefers to kick to leading movement, so you want that at least 50% of the time. And as I mentioned, you want to launch from the corridor. If you're a corridor-based team, you might target 75% plus there. So you've also got benchmark data. And quickly that can be represented in a post-game report, something like this. So this example of a report we have where each of these blocked areas, there's this first black line represents some offensive indicators. I haven't shown what they actually are. This second lot of 3 indicators here represent some defensive indicators for us, and the last 2 are stoppage or set play restart indicators. So straight away it's just a one-page summary based on, these are mainly our process of how we went about or how effective we were in each of those areas. We rate it as good, okay and poor, and quickly the colour coding tells you a lot of green there, so pretty good result across all the areas of our performance. Just the one poor result there. If it was an okay, we'd have an amber or orange colour. So there's an example of how to present those indicators as well quickly, so that as a coach you can quickly digest and start to pinpoint what worked and what didn't. If we move on to the next step from this, is really how sports code might tie into all of this. if you're in a fortunate enough position to have some video analysis software like Sports Code, like Dartfish and a few others that are available, these stats will often be derived from coding in this program. So for example here I've got these instances on the timeline that represent forward entries, for example, so there's 10 of those, and for each instance we can actually add labels, so in terms of our product indicators and our process indicators. So we might have said this entry, yes, we scored, that's our product indicator, and our processes entry speed, it might have been quick, the kicking was to advantage, the movement was a one-on-one lead like we want, and the launcher location in this case was wide. So we've selected all those, and we can see if we hover over that instance in the timeline just above, it shows us all those labels or tags that we've added to that instance. So that now, and if you see, sorry, just before we go on, that I've already done this to the other entries. So all these entries are now tagged based on those the product indicator of whether we scored or not, and then the process indicators, those 3 or 4 categories. So in Sports Code, if we go to then our matrix, what we can see is that here's our forward entries, and it gives us a numerical output of how many times, for example here we went to a one-on-one twice, and before we do that we can sort by groups to make it a bit clearer. So entry speed, quick entries versus slow, 7, 3 slow, 70%. So our objective might have been 70%, so we get a tick there. Our kicking to advantage, not to advantage, 4 and 6, so struggled with our kicking, etc, etc. So we can see for all our process indicators what the results were, and the power obviously of having this video analysis tied to our stats is, for example here under kicking, 6 out of 10 kicks weren't to advantage. That might be an issue. By simply double clicking, here's our 6 instances where, for example, we didn't kick the ball to advantage. So we can watch them one after the other and see if there are any key trends that emerge about, that might have been when we were kicking to a lead, that we were miskicking the ball, or it could have been under different situations. Maybe it was from a mark, we weren't pushing back far enough. All sorts of situations could come up that you'll be able to recognise and detect as a coach. And obviously if we're doing this over longer periods, over multiple games, and building up this database, it becomes really powerful information. You can get real insight, an accurate insight into what's working and what's not in your performance, and then obviously focus your training activities around rectifying or continuing to improve that aspect of your play. It could also be individuals that have some issues that they just need some extra attention in certain areas. So there's a brief overview of I guess incorporating performance indicators into your coaching process in terms of the match analysis, using the numbers and the stats to give you an insight into your performance, tying that into video analysis if you're in the situation where you can use these great video analysis software tools. So yeah, hopefully that's of benefit to you somewhere along the line in your coaching.